Thank you. Okay, it's 10:05. I'd like to call the meeting to order. 10:05. If there's anybody watching online and would like to make a comment, please use the raise a hand function on the button on Zoom. At that point, staff members will be able to turn on your camera and unmute their microphone. Members of the public cannot comment via Zoom with their camera off and without identifying themselves and their address. Thank you. Item number 2, motion approving the minutes of the April 7th, 2025 meeting of the Midland Development Corporation. Are there any public comment? Any discussions from the board? I'll call for a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, motion approving the minutes of the April 14th, 2025 meeting of the Midland Development Corporation. Is there any public comment? Any discussion from the board? I'll call for a motion for approval.
So. Second.
The motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we'll have a presentation from the city of Midland regarding ongoing and upcoming infrastructure projects and initiatives in the city of Midland, Texas. Received presentation from Deputy City Manager Jose Ortiz on current and upcoming infrastructure projects made possible by MDC funding. Okay.
Thank you. Now, we had a presentation we're gonna make, but I don't know if, after that. Here we go. And so, as you know, we've been partnering with MDC for 10 years now, it seems like, even longer than that. And early on, we didn't really have a strong plan. We just would come in, itemize at one time, okay, maybe a water line here or home work here. We come to the council and the MDC to see if we can support on those projects. Since then, we've actually created a plan, a long-term plan. And so if we go to the next slide, is there a clicker or are you my clicker?
No.
So. let's see if this works. So we haven't tested this yet, but we'll see. Anyhow, so, again. Everything we do with the NDC and at the city, we want to make sure that it falls within our city goals, it falls within our plans. And historically, the good news is everything we've done with the NDC has fallen under these goals that we have. Obviously, strengthening our economy, attracting businesses, and trying to find ways to get public-private partnership, because what we do here doesn't only involve us. We have an opportunity to leverage our funds through the NDC, through the city, and even work with the state. So the state's been a great partner with projects we worked on in the past, development community. We all come together. One development I have 4 different funding sources because of these partnerships we've had in the past. So that's been really helpful. And it's not gonna work for me, so we use it. So this is the original kind of a 10-year plan we put together. So some of you may be familiar with this. Back when Gary Law was actually employed with NBC, we generated this long-term plan and then decided, okay, this is going to be our priority list of things we kind of navigate as we look at projects and our partnerships. We developed this, and eventually over time, we decided, okay, how do we decipher what's the way to do this? And we came up with a plan where, okay, 30% of NBC funds would go towards these projects. And so we've been pretty good about staying consistent with what's on this map. What kind of generate that map is you can see where the growth is at in Midland, Texas. So this is our residential building density map. And anything that's in orange is really kind of our high growth areas. So the map we saw just before is consistent with this. And so this kind of helped us establish, okay, of all those projects, where do we need to go? What areas we need to target? And you can see West Midland and Northeast Midland really has a ton of growth. We've also worked in Southeast Midland because there's an opportunity. You can see the magenta line. That's the city limits. And you can see there's a void there. So we even have a project in that area that we would like to spur growth in that area, a lot of vacant land. And I think it's prime for development. So that's an area we want to focus on as well. But this kind of at least gives you a visual on how do we come up with projects that we determine that need to be our priority. Now I'll dive right into it. In terms of our next 3 years, and when it comes to what we're looking for and 30% matching from the MDC, it's really hard to tell, but I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Number 1 is the overpass at the future 191 and 1250 interchange. And the reason for that is you see all that growth up there. Costco was off of Sinclair. Sinclair needs to be extended to the west. Well, I need to tie it in somewhere. I need to tie it back to 191. Everything you see here also is tied in with the state. You'll see in a couple of slides. These efforts are already taking place with the state as well. So the state knows that these are our priorities. This is what we're looking for. We go through the MPO process. We identify these projects. Number 2 is Briarwood. Briarwood, east of 158. It's just a 2-lane or 3-lane cross section. With all the growth, all the traffic, we really need to widen that out. About 10 years ago, we widened out, maybe 8 years ago, we widened out Briarwood, west of Hollywood Road to Avalon. This would be the next phase. So with all that growth up there, what we have there in that first phase, where we replicate the second phase. We have a 1-0 conflict, but once we get that 1-0 conflict out of the way and resolved, we plan to bid this project out, and our goal is to bid it out this year, once we get that 1-0 item taken care of. And then you'll see kind of how that ties in together with some of the other projects. So if you know where Briarwood's at, you can see the label Briarwood 158 intersection. That portion of Briarwood will be us constructing that, and hopefully with, a partnership with NBC for construction money as well for that one. But it ties into the 158 system. And the NBC has been really a huge advocate for helping us out with the design efforts of 158. So you have those 2 pentagon shaped items of 158, that's Briarwood 158 intersection improvements, the Wadley extension and the 158 intersection improvement there as well. The designs are completed and the state's going to actually bid those out this year. Now, what's really key about that is that the state was not going to start design or the planning efforts until like 2027. And it would take them 2 years because we just could not prioritize that project over major corridors. I-20 was always going to be precedent over what we do here on that corridor, 338 Loving. So we had to kind of take the initiative and do the design work. And with the funding we got from MDC, we could move forward with design efforts and leverage that and donate that to the state. So that puts them in a position to accelerate those projects much faster. So we probably save 5 to 10 years on that project. And you can see already what's happening along 158. There's just so much growth that if we waited on the state, we'd be in a really bad situation right now. So at least we know we have plans. They're going to launch construction here this year. Everything in between those 2 intersections, and even all the way down to what I call Sinclair, it's that dotted orange line, north 158. That's 158. We're currently designing that through Kinley Horn. And again, that's MDC funding that's allowing us to do that. We get those projects ready and on the show, then we can really start push on the state to say, hey, we're ready. We got plans ready to go. The environmental items are taken care of, right of ways there, we can move forward. You find other communities, they don't have the right of way secured, and they're still trying to get federal dollars or state dollars to do projects. We make sure it's basically on the shelf, ready to go to construction, and we can turn dirt once we get the funds. So you're gonna see that at the end of this year, those projects will be done, and then we'll start that champion of, okay, we need to move this project forward with the state. The big one that I really have an interest in is 191 and 1250. Again, you can see the 2 dotted orange lines. That allows us to complete this package road system on both sides of 191. The north dotted line is where Costco's going. But if you keep going west, it ties into the NBC property. And so right now, NBC, the only access you have to the NBC property is what's on the service road. If we can get that package road in, then you have 2-way circulation back and forth. And if we get the interchange in place, it gets you that much closer to full access interchange on 191, which I think is a really huge benefit for the NBC property out there. So that's number one for us. And then number two, like I said, is Briarwood. You can see the magenta is MPO eligible projects and then the not eligible projects. And the reason the orange are not eligible, because it's not on their system. It's not, when I say their system, the state system. It has to be a state highway. So the orange is gonna be projects that we have to construct as city or even the county, some of this is the county. So we're trying to work out partnerships with the county, to see if they'll help with some of these projects. Now, the Wadley development, I'm gonna back up a little bit and explain why this has been important and how it's been really beneficial to partner all these years. Wadley, the NBC actually gave us dollars to secure right away. So we secured the right away. We completed the plans, we got in construction. The road is complete. The only reason we can't open it up right now is that you can see the old golf course area. That's the preserve. That's where the zoo's going. That's where the preserve is going. They've got major storm drain that they gotta come across Wadley. So it doesn't make any sense to open it to the public, just to close it again to get a storm drain. So they're working on that now. And then once they get that completed, we can open it up to 158. At the same time, once we open it, the state should have their project left at 158 Wadley. But you can see everything in green. There's two developments that are taking place on the other side. And again, trying to be proactive, we've been able to get these things knocked out in a timely fashion, so that way it helps with the developments coming in. And if you go down 158, you've seen the massive amount of development out there, not just the Costco, but that subdivision to the west. And what I don't even show in this map is that further north, a little bit west of here, there's another development that's gonna be, I don't know, 2004 possibly. So it's a massive development that's coming our way. It's not finalized, so I'm not ready to share that publicly, but it is one of these things that we just need to be mindful of it. The growth is coming. And so we have to be really, again, proactive versus reactive to that growth coming. So that's why we want to get kind of very, very important order for us.
Jose, which intersections are gonna be signalized? Wadley, is Sinclair gonna be signalized too?
So at Sinclair, the signals are going to be activated hopefully as early as next week. We're still waiting on Encore, but the signals will be in place. And that's going to be to the Costco site. And that the signal is another item. That entire intersection, MC provided the funding for that construction project. The county is going to reimburse us for the signal work. So again, it's those partnerships that we're establishing there. Yes, NDC worked on infrastructure, but the county came through and provided funding for the signal. And so that's going to be signalized. Wadley, Briarwood, and eventually 1250. It was on one of those maps. 1250 will also be realigned and tied into 158, that's just west of 158, south of. You know, after all my roads. 1250 and 158, that major development's coming in. So we're already working on the design efforts, and the county is actually helpful with that. So because it's in the county may actually pave a portion of that roadway, and the developer will tie onto that. That way it's established. Otherwise, we'd be scrambling trying to get that done.
And if you'll have relationship with county commissioners, thank them for that, because they really are helping us to leapfrog ahead on some of those projects.
This is kind of a summary of the widening of 158. This is what we presented a while back. So I just bring it up as a snapshot of what we talked about before, and kind of, because we have the plan in place, it's actually happening. So phase one, the roadway, we, at that time, we're calling it the former Costco site. Well, now it's the actual Costco site. So again, being able to do this helped us with Costco because we were able to tell them, no, the road's gonna be here. We'd already gone through 5 years of planning, design efforts. And that was one of the things that kind of, secured the deal. Obviously, NBC's willingness to partner with them, but the timing for infrastructure was important to them. And we knew that we could actually move forward with construction of the roadway. So the incentives from the NBC plus the infrastructure improvements really kind of sealed the deal. And so this kind of gives you the outline of what we talked about back in the past and kind of where we're at today, and it kind of is a script of what you'll be seeing pretty soon. Now, West Midland obviously is growing really quickly, but East Midland is also, there's a tremendous amount of growth in Northeast Midland. So this is a snapshot of what's happening in East Midland. So you can see fairgrounds. I'm going to refer to it as a super arterial roadway that really needs to be looked at. We need to look at that as really our one opportunity to make that a 6-lane divided roadway because there's so much growth here. Big Spring is, it's just, there's no way we can add capacity to that system. That's a state system. If we ever wanted to add lanes, we're knocking, I don't know, dozens of homes and properties to widen the Big Spring. So really the focus needs to be is finding a way to improve the corridor along Fairgrounds. So this is a long-term plan. We've already started the design efforts. We also had some portions in construction completed between the loop and Mockingbird. That's in construction now. So you'll see that piece finalized hopefully in 12 months. And then we'll look at trying to find ways to extend it to Outer Loop. The area that I'm working with, the MPO and the MDC, is a tidal capacity at the loop. And those dollars actually came from MDC, and those plans are completed and done. And so they're in TxDOT's possession, and we're trying to work with them to find a way to accelerate that project. That's a 2029 project. There's no reason why it couldn't be a 2025 project in our eyes. Now, the MPO and the state doesn't see it that way. So we have to find a way to work with them to see, okay, what can we do to take this project that's ready to get into construction? And we've had success in the past, and so we expect to do the same results. So we'll work with the state to see if we get that done as quickly as we can. Hopefully in 2026 we can get something. But again, that is a project again that the NBC provided the funds for, and it's completely ready to go. This kind of shows you an area what that looks like. That's the last gap of the loop, and that's our argument to the state is that the loop's complete. The NBC put funds into two other interchanges further east. This is the last piece, and so this is what we showcase to the state. It shows in design $7.5 million shortage. That got by me. That actually is not the case. It is 100% funded, but it won't be eligible to go into the TIP until the next revision, and that's why I say it's a 2029 project because that's what it's slated to be. But it can actually slide into this TIP, and the TIP is really the 4-year construction window for the MPO. So it's eligible in this TIP now. We just gotta find a way to sneak it in.
For y'all's awareness as well, the little sliver, you see the home subdivision where DR Horton is there on the north west side. So just next to that is Harmony Public Schools, where they have a charter school that's already in existence there in kind of portable buildings, but they're building out their main campus. This is gonna be really critical to the success of that school and the ability for families to get their kids to school safely and everything to get this prioritized. So we're motivated for lots of reasons to see this advance.
Thank you, man. That's true. I forget about that one because it's an older area. I think they're building the entire campus out now.
They are. It'll be K through 12.
And high school, the entire, I think they're gonna go to start next year.
They're hoping to start in August, so.
So, and you can imagine, we have the service roads on one way, but we can go one way in and one way out. So getting the overpass at Todd really goes a long ways to help us out with just, again, distribution of traffic in this area. Now, another item that the MDC actually provided dollars towards is this green line right here is the actual sewer line that was extended from where it ended in grassland off of 158. It was extended all the way out for the length was 2.3 miles to the MDC site. So now the MDC site has water, sewer, just doesn't have a road. So I think once we get that package road in, really again, goes back to everything is ready and on the side to develop the MDC property. And that was it. So I'd love to question.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
And I want it not to sound like a criticism, but I am asked quite frequently about why the project on our field does not seem to ever end. And obviously, we have a hospital that people are trying to gain access to. And so we all hear proponents for infrastructure and getting, I mean, this excites me, but what do you propose that we say to people? Because that seems like a never ending project.
I'll let him answer, but I will tell you that staff in 2014 or 2015 had a great idea. And the idea was, let's do an in-house crew to do paving, to do concrete. And it was a great idea. But the necessary training at the level that it needed to be when they got the new machinery wasn't quite where it needed to be. Overall, they saved the city $10 million, but it came at a tremendous amount of, I guess, concern with the time that it took to actually execute it. So that's the answer. You can add whatever else you want to add.
So when do we expect to be finished?
Two-part answer. So I'm gonna finish Tommy's
Okay.
answer too, because that was probably the most complicated project that we took off. We knew that from the get-go. We had to replace all the water lines, sewer lines, everything had to be gutted. Because it hadn't been touched in probably 50 years. And so when the contractors went in there for the utility work. Again, there's a lot of different reasons, a lot of different things we could have done better, but. Some of the issues, and some of the manholes, when you would touch it, they were just crumbling. It was that bad a shape. And so all those issues added more time to the contract, which is unfortunate. But we had to deal with it. We had to change out corrugated metal pipe that was rotted out. I mean, you would pull it out, and half, the bottom half was gone. So you had that issue. You had the sewer lines that were crumbling. The water was in poor shape. It was the old metal pipes that had all this gunk in it. I don't want to show you what it looks like, because you feel like I had to read that. So anyhow, but it had to be replaced. So all three of those had to be replaced. And you would think that the road was wide enough to make all those improvements, but it's actually pretty narrow when you start talking about all these trenches. You have 3 trenches. So just the utilities alone, I think we added almost a year. So that hurt. And then to Tommy's comments, we bid that project out, and what we wanted to do initially was bid it out as one project. Okay, contractor, get in and get out. But when they gave us a bid of $25 million, that was $20 million for my budget. Like, you didn't get half of this. Now, I still want to cost him more, but we saved $10 million by breaking it out, doing utilities first, and then coming back in. And to Tommy's point, what we did to save money is our in-house crews came in and started doing the concrete work. But we were so far behind in schedule, it just looked bad. And I felt bad because we had our city crews out there. And it wasn't necessarily the fault. There was so many delays on the front end that it just looked bad. So that's what happened. That's what took so long. To answer your question. We're saying before school starts, dark will be complete. So all the utilities work are done. The roundabout is about 90% complete. They're doing the last course. Hopefully, if weather lets us, we'll get that done over the next couple of weeks and open up a roundabout in each direction, east and west, and then going north. That should be hopefully in about a month. And then by the end of the summer, they'll get the rest of Darkville done down in Louisiana. So my goal is before school starts, Darkville is open. The good news is NBC didn't put any money to it.
Right,
So-
right.
So you don't have to take any blame. So,
But the public doesn't know that.
They don't.
And so, we're asked, and I'm gonna call, obviously, our goal is to promote economic growth. And I want to make sure that when we're talking about any infrastructure contribution, that it's for economic growth purposes. And it's hard to reconcile that if you have existing projects that seemingly don't end. And so, but I appreciate the update, and I agree, it probably has nothing to do with this, but it is helpful for me to understand and to explain to others.
And I will tell you, when I'm asked about it, I say it's an inexcusable length of time that this project has taken. I don't think we should sugarcoat it. This has taken too long, and we do not, we're not okay with that. I do share that we've saved $10 million in doing it the way that we have, but that came at the cost of 3 years. And so, we have to be pragmatic about all of that. But to me, we acknowledge, yes, we agree, it's taken too long. So, and one other thing for your awareness, there's a lot of criticism about Wadley, between I Street and Garfield in particular, but really further than that, it is in similar shape.
Yes.
And so at the time that we decide to go pursue that, we're gonna have a similar, hopefully it won't be as lengthy, and we will have had learnings from what we've done on Garfield, but it will be a similar project. And, I actually rode a jet ski down Wadley when I was a kid. I mean, that it hasn't drained properly in a really long time. And so I think that we should be forthcoming with that. Like, we agree, Wadley needs to be fixed, but are you ready to have a Garfield situation on Wadley?
Well, these roads are also used to channelize water during rain events.
That's right.
They're major ones that tie into the draw system, and that's why it was so critical to do Garfield. When it was, I remember we did it on the road pond, that we knew that one, that A Street, you found a water main on A Street with no water lines going into it, that was just under the ground for 50 years. So once the utility contractors start putting the shovels in the ground, it's a treasure hunt.
Yeah, so our goal is also, because of all these the lessons we've learned, next time we go to Wadley or even golf course, we'll handle it better. But I will say this, I'm not in a hurry to go to those roads.
Yeah.
Way from the epicenter, because, the $100 million bond really focused in on the worst part of the city, and that was the center part of the city. So, I mean, we have just been frustrated, the same constituents over and over again with A Street, Texas, Illinois. I mean, everything was just in the center of the city, but that's the oldest part of the city. So we're gonna break away, and the project we're talking about is Briarwood, Mockingbird. Avalons, those are the projects that are on the outskirts. And so we can at least give folks in the center of the city a little reprieve. So that's our goal moving forward.
And I just want, because we're focused on economic growth, I don't want to have other members of the public saying, you're fine getting the road done quickly if it's connecting to Costco, but you've been dwelling on our project for 3-4 years now. And I know they don't understand all of it, but I just think we have to be careful.
Well, part of
about
it, you could tell them too, that's virgin property.
Yeah.
And then so you're putting in a new pipe that wasn't there before, and then you're putting in a new road that wasn't there before. It's a lot easier, a lot faster to be able to do that. When you go in and you have to manipulate all the existing infrastructure that's torn to pieces, then it takes a lot longer. And what I said earlier about, it was a great idea
Sure.
to do it in-house, but I'm just trying to answer your question, so when people ask you, you can give them an answer. The other answer is, there's $35 million in need annually in order to maintain the existing infrastructure, and we're only putting 8.5 million towards it. Now, that doesn't mean, oh, we're neglecting it
8.5 from our general fund.
from our general fund. So, because this year we're putting 30 million with that we did with the CO for road construction. Thank you for that. However, the point is that, okay, we're fully funded this year, but then the following year, and the following year after that, and the 35 million is just for maintenance, not for like new roads. So I'm saying that because there's been decades of neglect that have taken place in Midland. And that's just explaining the situation. Doesn't mean that we're not gonna attack the situation. And the slow and steady have to continue. We have to continue that 8.5, maybe try to get it up to 10 million for maintenance, because there's things that are gonna break down in the middle of the city. And when they do break down, like pipelines, that's the time to go in there, just take advantage of it. Take everything out and go ahead and put a cover over it, which is concrete if you can, if not asphalt.
And I don't mind taking those questions also, because obviously I have a lot of the history, even Sinclair, and we, yes, it looks like it went like that, well, that's not really the case. We've been working on that project for 10 years. That water line went in 10 years ago.
Right.
The sewer line went in 2 years ago. The road is the last piece. And so everything was already prepped, and ready to go, designed, ready to go construction. If all I ever do is do like pave roads, all I love it. But every time I have to touch those utilities, then it's just a big ballgame.
Well, I don't think it hurt that he had everybody in his ear telling him, you better have that road finished. That Costco gets open, so I mean, there was a sense of urgency, but again, it was virgin property. It was easier to do. He's right, the planning was in place, but it also hadn't been touched.
Yeah, man, much easier when you're not having to deal with traffic control, and you're keeping driveways open to residents. But like I said, I don't mind having those conversations with constituents, because our staff's the one to know what the history and every time I have a chance to spend some time with constituents and they hear that, they get it. Okay, it's hard to visually understand that when all you see is construction's been going on for almost 2 years. But I don't mind if you want to pass it on to us, we'll have this conversation.
Please, one of our, we just built a truck. We wind it, we wind up.
Yeah, it went quick, and the nice thing about that one, we really didn't have any utilities. It was just the road. Yeah, it's just whenever I start talking about utilities, it just adds another level of complexity and time.
The one oak that he's talking about having to deal with on Briarwood though that's a midstream gathering company, and they have a major flow line that goes through, or it's more than a flow line, but they have a major easement there. And so we have to work out the right way and all that. And we've had lots of conversations. For years.
On the slide that you showed with the 4 projects, the 4th project that was more on the south side of it.
Yes, sir.
What was?
That's the golf course extension. So when you go to Scarborough and Fairgrounds, the apartment complex that was built for COVID 5-6 years ago, they extended a piece of the roadway. That piece of roadway could be extended to the golf course. And what I want to do is get that connection in place, because you have a lot of opportunity for development east of there. Plus, I want to take the low water crossing out of golf course. You have a lot of folks that go in there and they dump stuff, or it's just dangerous, and the last thing we need is, if there's an event, people can't get to that part of the city, we need the extension of Scarborough Drive to golf course to allow folks to get to that part of the city and not have to do the water crossing.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comment? Any other discussion from the board? Okay, thank you. Item 5, resolution authorizing the amended and restated economic development agreement with Flower Child Baked Goods LLC. Consider an amendment to the Flower Child baked goods economic development agreement to permit the company's planned expansion and investment to occur in any location within the city limits. All other agreements terms remain unchanged. Is there any public comment? Any discussion from the board?
I'm happy just to make it very, very clear, the only thing that changes in the contract is just with respect to the location and making it clear that it can occur where they currently are or anywhere else in city limits. That's the only change. No changes to timelines or commitments. Yes, it does have a resolution
Yeah,
attached.
and then I'll call for a motion for approval.
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, I want to defer to the executive session, and then we'll reopen after executive session and take this item up at that time. Item number 7. Resolution authorizing the execution of a license agreement between the Midland Development Corporation and the Midland Chamber of Commerce regarding the use of certain real property described as Lot 5 and 6, Block 35, the original town edition, city and county of Midland, Texas. Consider a resolution authorizing the Chamber of Commerce's temporary use of the MDC owned land at the northwest corner of Colorado and Texas for a beer garden during the upcoming Star Spangled Salute event. Is there any public comment? Any discussion from the board?
Yes, this one requires a vote.
And I will call for a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
Your motion said, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9, motion authorizing the Midland Development Corporation chairman to negotiate and execute an easement and right-of-way agreement with Encore Electric.
You skip number 8.
Excuse me?
You skip number 8.
Just get the,
I'm sorry. Sure did. Number 8. Check that. Start over. Motion authorizing payment to MC Sturgeon LP in the amount of $79,500 for certain design, engineering, and soil testing services related to the proposed development and construction of a new hangar facility at Midland International Air and Spaceport. Motion authorizing payment for the environmental due diligence completed by MC Sturgeon in connection with the development of a future hangar at Midland International Air and Spaceport, in alignment with the existing economic development agreement with Starfighters. Is there any public comment?
For this one, if it's helpful, just to have a little bit of context, so this contractor was selected, it's my understanding by the board, last year in the fall. And again, they just got started with the environmental work associated with the hangar, and so, before we make the payment, we just want to make sure the board is comfortable with that. The environmental work will help us. The MDC owns it all the work. And so as we move forward with the hangar, we have all of that at our disposal.
Any discussion from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I probably should abstain from this as a professional relationship.
Okay, thank you. I'll call for a motion to ratify.
So moved. Second.
Motion to second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 9. Motion authorizing the Midland Development Corporation chairman to negotiate and execute an easement and right-of-way agreement with Encore Electric Delivery Company, LLC, regarding certain real property described as section 33, block 40, Township 1 South TNP Railroad Company Survey, Midland, Texas. Requesting, authorizes the MDC chair to negotiate and execute an easement and right-of-way agreement with Encore for the power line extension to support the Firehawk project on MDC-owned land. Is there any public comment?
And a little bit of context on this one, these easement agreements are very standard and typical with Encore. I think the board approved one at the last meeting. We are still awaiting, an exhibit from Encore on this. If you're comfortable, we can move forward rather than waiting another month once we receive that exhibit. So that's what this is asking for, is just you're okay that we, as we receive the information, we go ahead and negotiate that power line agreement.
Do we have anything in the packet? Because I mean, I wouldn't
Yeah.
find anything that shows.
Encore has not provided an exhibit yet. We had I reminded them last week, but we haven't gotten anything, so I have another upcoming call this week with them. The other option is waiting until the next meeting in June, once we do have that exhibit. We just wanted to try to keep things moving as fast as we can, but if you're more comfortable waiting until the next meeting, we can do that as well.
I guess we're asking what are we approving that's different than what we approved? Previously.
This one is for the power line for Firehawk. So
Okay,
this is a different.
okay, so
project.
this was,
Different right-of-way than the
Correct.
one we did
okay,
previously.
Is it along the same right away with?
No, it will be a different one. It'll be different, but it is still the land. It's owned on the northwest side.
I unfortunately think that it's more prudent to wait till we can see when it would go.
Understood.
I'm just uncomfortable. I know it will hopefully be the same, but I'm uncomfortable without having a description of the easement.
Then
Specific
let's
easement.
table this until next month. Yeah.
Need a motion to do that?
Do you need a motion to table? Do you need a motion to table it, or can we?
Uh,
Usually do if it's a-
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
yeah,
I moved the table to the next meeting.
I second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries to table to the next meeting. At this time, we'll have presentation of the April 2025 Economic Development Activity. With the UBC.
And so on this one, I'll be brief since this is my first meeting, but it's very good to meet you all. I haven't met many of you. My name is Elizabeth Triggs. I'm helping the MDC in the interim. And so if you need anything, I shared my phone number. Please feel free to call me. As we gear up for the next meeting, I'll make sure to reach out to you all ahead of time to see if you have any questions beforehand. This one was rushed, but we got it together, I think, pretty good. My update is very brief, but also I'd love the opportunity to hear from you what you might want to see at the next meeting in terms of an economic development activity report. Just a reminder that AST was approved. I think that's a huge deal and can't be understated enough. City Council did approve that agreement after the MDC board approved it. So we're excited about that. We're actively working with them to look at how the space is being modified to hold that expansion that they're working on. They've already sent over some ideas about what they want to do with the space. So we're working through that. That's probably our top priority right now. We've had some good introductory calls, which I'm happy to share with you at another time. I want to make sure that I'm respectful of the nature of those calls, but we have a lot of opportunities here. In your packet, we also included an update from UTPB on the incubator and makerspace grant. It looks like all 6 spaces are currently occupied, which is a big deal. In addition, there's a co-working tenant Space Nation, which I know you all are familiar with there. So you do have the full report in your packet if you'd like to review it when you have time. And then finally, just as Sarah did during the previous meeting, I saw we included an update on the Texas labor market information from Midland, Odessa, and the Permian Basin area. I mean, Midland continues to have the lowest unemployment rate in Texas. It's very similar to where we were last year. And you can see sort of similar trends for the other areas as well. With that, I'm happy to take any questions or any feedback on what you'd like to see in the next meeting to make sure that I'm keeping you all updated as best as possible.
Sales tax revenue.
Sales tax revenue. Happy to do that. And I'll follow up by email with a report on sales tax revenue.
And on the sales tax revenue, you're probably aware of this, but there's a spreadsheet that shows the past and compares
Okay,
what this month's is. So it should just be a build on to whatever last month's was. So I don't want you to reinvent the wheel because I think it's there.
okay, I'll find that
And
report.
I'll share with you what we do.
Okay. I can do that. We'll be sure to get that out to you. It sounds like it's easy, so we'll be sure to get that out to you this week.
Okay.
Anything else?
Any other discussion from the board? All right, I have it now, 10:45. And we will retire to executive session. Pursuant to the Texas Government Code 551.101, the Board of Directors will hold an executive session which is closed to the public to discuss the following matters as permitted under the following Texas Government Code sections. Section 551.072, deliberation regarding real property. Discuss the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Section 551.087, deliberation regarding the economic development negotiation. Discuss business prospects that the Midland Development Corporation seek to have, locate, stay, or expand in or near the city of Midland, Texas, and discuss possible incentives. And discuss contract compliance on the part of the businesses.